Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you keep chasing people who don't see your worth? Perhaps you're trapped in an endless cycle of seeking approval, trying to prove your value to someone who simply isn't willing to recognize it. Look in the mirror for a moment and ask yourself, am I living the life I truly desire, or am I living to meet the expectations of those who don't even value me? Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in modern psychology, identified this pattern as one of the greatest human tragedies, the relentless pursuit of external validation at the expense of our own integrity. Jung understood this perfectly when he wrote, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." This awakening Jung speaks of isn't comfortable. It's painful to recognize how much time we've invested in people who never gave us the place we deserved. But in that recognition, true transformation begins. Today's world is designed to keep us distracted, to prevent us from facing this uncomfortable truth. Social media bombards us with images of perfect relationships, making us believe that we are the problem. That if we try harder, if we change more, we will finally be worthy of love. But Jung had a different perspective. He understood that this external search was actually a reflection of our internal disconnection. Think about the last times you felt truly disappointed. How many of those disappointments came from expecting someone to value you in a way they never demonstrated they could? Jung called this projection. We project qualities and capabilities onto others that they don't possess, and then feel betrayed when they don't meet our expectations. This projection isn't coincidental. It arises from what Jung called the shadow, those parts of ourselves that we have repressed or denied. When we don't recognize our own worth, we desperately seek someone else to confirm it. It's like handing over the keys to our happiness to people who don't even know where the door is. But what happens when you finally decide to stop chasing those who don't value you? Jung described it as a process of individuation, the journey toward becoming who you truly are. This path begins with a decision, the decision to choose yourself above any external validation. This choice isn't easy. It goes against everything society has taught us. From childhood, we've been conditioned to seek approval, to adapt, to fit in. We've been told that our worth lies in how much others love us. Jung challenged this idea, suggesting that our true worth lies in reconnecting with our essence, with what he called the self, the integrating center of the psyche. The moment you stop pursuing those who don't value you is the moment you begin to experience a profound internal transformation. You're no longer spending your energy trying to convince someone that you deserve a place in their life. Instead, that energy begins to flow toward your own growth, toward building a genuine relationship with yourself. Jung observed that when this transformation occurs, something magical happens in our external world. We begin to attract people and situations that are in tune with our authentic frequency. It's not magic or coincidence, it's what Jung called synchronicity, a meaningful connection between our inner world and external experiences. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you stopped investing time and energy in those who don't recognize your worth. All that emotional energy you've spent begging for crumbs of attention could be channeled toward your dreams, your passions, toward people who genuinely appreciate you. Jung taught us that the emptiness you feel when someone doesn't value you cannot be filled by that person, no matter how hard you try. That emptiness can only be filled from within. It's a sacred space that you've been trying to fill with the presence of others, when in reality it's designed for you to inhabit. Remember that feeling of lightness you experience when you finally let go of a draining relationship? That's not just an emotional release. It's your inner being celebrating that you've decided to reclaim your power. Jung understood that every time we choose to walk away from those who don't value us, we're saying yes to our own integrity. But the path doesn't end there. After letting go comes the real work, confronting your own shadows. Jung believed that the people we attract into our lives are reflections of our inner state. If you continually find yourself seeking validation from those who cannot give it to you, it's time to ask yourself, what part of me still believes I'm not enough? This question might seem frightening, but your power resides in it. Because once you identify those limiting beliefs, you have the opportunity to transform them. Jung expressed it beautifully, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." Choosing to become someone who no longer seeks external validation requires courage. It means facing your deepest fears, the fear of loneliness, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being loved. But as Jung taught us, these fears are nothing more than shadows projected on the wall of our consciousness. Once you light the lamp of self-knowledge, you discover that those shadows were much smaller than they appeared. As you progress on this path of self-discovery, you begin to notice subtle but profound changes in your life. People who used to ignore your worth begin to perceive something different about you. It's not that you've fundamentally changed who you are, it's that you're no longer projecting your power onto them. You've reclaimed your energy, and that reclamation manifests as a new confidence, a new light shining from within. Some might return to your life, attracted by this new energy. Jung warned us about this phenomenon. He taught us that when we finally stop chasing someone, sometimes that person returns, as if instinctively feeling the loss of our energy. This is where your new commitment to yourself is tested. Will you fall back into old patterns for momentary validation, or will you maintain the boundaries you've established? Boundaries are crucial in this process. Jung saw them as sacred frontiers that protect your psychic integrity. They aren't walls to keep others out, but clear markers of what you're willing to accept in your life. When you establish healthy boundaries, you not only protect yourself, but also create space for genuine and reciprocal relationships. These new relationships will be fundamentally different from those in which you had to beg for attention. Jung observed that when we relate from our authenticity, we attract people who resonate with that same frequency. There's no need to convince anyone of your worth, because those who are aligned with your true self recognize it naturally. But beyond relationships with others, the relationship that transforms the most is the one you have with yourself. Jung considered this relationship as the foundation of all our human experience. When you stop seeking external approval, you begin to hear that inner voice that has always been there, guiding you toward your true essence. This inner voice, which Jung called the voice of the soul, often speaks through your intuitions, your dreams, and your deepest emotions. These are the signals you've been ignoring while you were busy chasing those who didn't value you. Now, with your attention turned inward, these signals become clearer, more urgent, more impossible to ignore. Think about the last important decisions you've made in your life. How many of them were based on what you thought others expected of you? And how many arose from a deep inner conviction? Jung taught us that decisions we make from our authentic center have a transformative power that decisions based on external expectations can never have. This transformative power manifests in all aspects of your life. Your work is no longer just a way to make a living, but an expression of your unique gifts. Your relationships are no longer desperate attempts to fill a void, but genuine connections based on mutual exchange. Even your relationship with time changes. You're no longer waiting for someone else to give you permission to live fully. Jung observed that many people spend their entire lives waiting to be recognized, waiting to be loved, waiting for someone else to give them the value they don't give themselves. But true transformation begins when you stop waiting and start living from your center. When you stop chasing those who don't value you, you also stop settling for less than you deserve. You no longer accept crumbs of attention when you deserve a feast of love. You no longer content yourself with being on the margins of someone's life when you deserve to be a priority. This refusal to settle doesn't come from a place of pride or arrogance, but from a deep respect for your own being. Jung believed that this self-respect is the foundation of all meaningful life. Without it, we are constantly at the mercy of others' opinions and judgments. With it, we become the authors of our own story, capable of charting our own course through the complexities of human existence. As you advance on this journey of self-discovery, you might find yourself questioning many of your old beliefs about what it means to be loved, about what you deserve, about who you fundamentally are. Jung saw this questioning as an essential part of the individuation process. It is through this questioning that we free ourselves from limitations we have unconsciously accepted. One of the most limiting beliefs Jung identified is the idea that our worth is determined by what we can do for others. This belief keeps us in an endless cycle of pleasing and appeasing, always looking for the next opportunity to prove our worth. But Jung taught us a deeper truth. Your worth isn't in what you do, but in who you are. This distinction is crucial. When you stop chasing those who don't value you, you're implicitly recognizing that your worth doesn't depend on someone else's ability to recognize it. Your worth is inherent, immutable, a fundamental part of your being. It doesn't need to be proven, demonstrated, or earned. It simply is. Accepting this truth can be both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because you no longer have to chase external validation. Terrifying because it means taking full responsibility for your own life. You can no longer blame others for not giving you what only you can give yourself, an unconditional recognition of your own worth. Jung saw this acceptance of responsibility as a crucial step in human development. It's the moment when we stop being victims of our circumstances and become active participants in creating our reality. We can't control whether others value us, but we can choose to value ourselves. This choice manifests in every aspect of your life, in how you talk to yourself, in the boundaries you establish, in the relationships you cultivate, in the dreams you pursue. Each time you choose to act from a place of self-respect, you're reinforcing your connection with your authentic self. And here's the paradox Jung understood so deeply. The less you seek external validation, the more naturally it flows to you. Not because you're chasing it, but because you're radiating an authenticity that is naturally magnetic. People are drawn to those who are firmly anchored in their own being, who don't need others to complete or validate them. This attraction isn't superficial like what we often mistake for love or connection. It's a deep resonance, a mutual recognition of the other's authenticity. Jung described it as the meeting of two souls who recognize each other, not because they are the same, but because each is complete in itself. Imagine what your relationships would be like if you entered them from this place of fullness. You wouldn't be looking for someone to fill your voids or validate your existence. Instead, you'd be seeking a genuine connection, a fellow traveler with whom to share the richness of your being. This is the difference between dependent love and the mature love Jung described in his writings. Mature love doesn't arise from need or lack, but from abundance. It's giving freely without expecting anything in return, not because you undervalue yourself, but because you're so full of your own being that giving becomes a natural expression of that fullness. In this type of love, there's no room for begging for attention or chasing those who don't value you, because you intuitively know that's not love at all. Jung taught us that the path to this kind of love begins with self-love. Not the narcissistic self-love that constantly seeks admiration, but the compassionate self-love that recognizes both our strengths and weaknesses and embraces us in our totality. This compassionate self-love is revolutionary in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough. It's an act of rebellion to say, I accept myself as I am, even with my imperfections and wounds. But it's in this acceptance that we find true freedom, the freedom to be authentically who we are, without apologies or justifications. When you stop chasing those who don't value you, you're reclaiming this freedom. You're saying, my worth is not for sale. I don't need to convince anyone of my value. This silent declaration has a transformative power that resonates in all aspects of your life. Professionally, you begin to seek opportunities that truly value you, instead of settling for situations where your talent is ignored or minimized. In your friendships, you naturally move away from one-sided relationships and toward connections based on mutual respect. In your relationship with yourself, you begin to treat yourself with the same kindness and consideration you would give to someone you deeply love. Jung observed that this internal change eventually manifests as a change in how the world perceives and responds to you. People who previously took you for granted begin to notice something different about you. It's not that you've fundamentally changed who you are, but that you've stopped hiding your light to make others comfortable. This inner light, which Jung associated with the self, has a natural magnetic power. When you stop seeking validation and begin to shine with your own light, the right people are naturally drawn to you. You don't have to chase them or convince them. They come into your life as a natural consequence of your authenticity. Of course, this process isn't instantaneous or linear. Jung understood that the path to individuation is full of challenges and setbacks. There will be moments when you'll be tempted to return to old patterns, to seek validation in the wrong places, to doubt your own worth. These moments of doubt aren't failures, but opportunities to deepen your relationship with yourself. Jung saw them as crucial to the growth process, as decision points where you have the opportunity to choose your authenticity again, even when it would be easier to return to old familiar patterns. Each time you choose not to chase those who don't value you, you're strengthening your connection with your authentic self. You're building an internal foundation that cannot be shaken by external opinions or temporary rejections. You're creating a life based on the truth of who you are, not on expectations of who others think you should be. Jung taught us that this authentic life is the greatest gift we can give ourselves and the world. Because when we live from our authentic center, we not only transform ourselves, but also inspire others to do the same. Our authenticity becomes a silent permission for others to reclaim theirs. Think about the people you've most admired in your life. They're probably not the ones desperately seeking approval, but those who seem deeply comfortable in their own skin, following their own path without apologizing for it. These people inspire you, not because they're perfect, but because they're authentic. And that authenticity is only possible when you stop seeking external validation and begin to live from your inner truth. Jung believed that each of us has a unique purpose, a soul's calling that only we can hear and follow. But while we're busy chasing those who don't value us, that calling gets lost in the noise of seeking approval. It's only when we quiet down and turn our attention inward that we can hear that inner voice guiding us to our true path. This path won't always be easy or comfortable. It will often take us to places we never imagined, challenge us in ways we never expected. But Jung assured us that this path, difficult as it may be, is infinitely more satisfying than a life spent chasing external validation. When you stop chasing those who don't value you, you begin to live in alignment with your true nature. You're no longer divided between what you truly desire and what you think you must do to be accepted. This internal alignment manifests as a sense of peace and purpose that transcends external circumstances. Even amidst life's inevitable challenges, there's an internal solidity that comes from knowing you're living your truth. Jung called this being centered in the self, a condition in which your identity is no longer determined by external factors, but anchored in your deepest essence. This anchoring doesn't mean you'll never be hurt or rejected again. Life will continue to bring its ups and downs, its losses and gains. But when you're centered in yourself, these experiences no longer have the power to destabilize your fundamental sense of who you are. Rejection hurts, but it no longer defines you. Validation is appreciated, but you no longer desperately need it. Jung observed that many people spend their entire lives avoiding the pain of rejection, only to discover that, in the process, they've also avoided the joy of living authentically. The fear of not being valued keeps us small, contained, less than we could be. But when we finally choose to stop chasing those who don't value us, that fear loses its power over us. In its place, a new freedom emerges. The freedom to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to learn and grow at your own pace. The freedom to say no to what doesn't resonate with you and yes to what nourishes your soul. The freedom to create a life that's a genuine reflection of who you are, not a response to others' expectations. This freedom is the true treasure Jung wanted all of us to discover. It's not out there, in others' approval or recognition. It's within you, waiting to be claimed through the courageous decision to stop chasing those who don't value you and start valuing yourself. The path ahead may seem lonely at times. Ceasing to pursue external validation often means moving away from familiar relationships and situations. It might mean confronting deep fears of abandonment or loneliness. But Jung assured us that this path, though sometimes solitary, is never truly alone. On this journey, you'll discover a deeper form of companionship, the companionship of your own being, the guidance of your own inner wisdom. And paradoxically, it's this willingness to be alone that will eventually connect you with people who can truly see and value who you are. So today, I invite you to take that brave first step. To stop chasing those who cannot or will not see your worth. To turn your attention inward and begin the fascinating journey of discovering who you really are beyond all the masks and adaptations you've adopted to be accepted. This isn't a quick or easy journey. As Jung taught us, individuation is the work of a lifetime. But each step you take toward your authenticity is a step toward a fuller, more meaningful, and more truly connected life. And as you progress on this path, remember Jung's wise words. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Today is the day to awaken, to stop dreaming of external validation and start living from the truth of who you really are. You're not alone on this journey. Every person who has had the courage to choose themselves walks with you. Every story of someone who stopped seeking validation and found their own power accompanies you. And in this space, in this community we're building together, your authenticity isn't just valued, it's celebrated. If this message has resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes all we need to take that brave first step is knowing we're not alone, that others have walked this path before us and found freedom on the other side. Share this video with someone who's struggling with their own worth, someone who might be chasing validation in all the wrong places. Your simple act of sharing could be the spark that ignites their own transformation. And if you yourself are in that place right now, know this: your worth has never been in question. It doesn't need to be proven or earned. It's an intrinsic part of who you are, as true as the beating of your heart. And when you finally stop chasing those who can't see it, you discover it's been there all along, waiting for you to claim it. Let me know in the comments which part of this message touched your heart most deeply. What insight are you taking away today? What small step can you take toward valuing yourself? Your story not only inspires me, but this entire community of people on the path to authenticity. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos that will help you on your journey of self-discovery. Together, we're creating a space where authenticity is valued above all else, where each of us is encouraged to live from the truth of who we really are. Thank you for being here, for your attention, and for your courage on this path. Remember, the moment you stop chasing those who don't value you is the moment you begin to discover your true power. And that power, as Jung taught us, has the capacity to transform not only your life, but the entire world. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, dare to shine with your own light. The world needs exactly what only you can offer: your authentic and valuable self.